feel like this is the part where I come and say, hi guys, welcome to my channel. But I'm going to say, hi guys, welcome to my podcast. Yep. Let me tell you, this podcast is long overdue. And most of the time when I post my content on TikTok, I get a lot of comments or questions or even DMs of people asking me, when are we seeing you on a podcast? Well, ladies and gentlemen, the Lord has done the thing. My name is Susan Grace. I am a media personality. I also believe I'm a content creator because me who create content. Alafu na post I'm not consume. So I'm also a content creator. I recently introduced myself to somebody and so I said I'm a media personality, I'm a content creator, and I'm a lover of life. And they're like, what does that even mean? And I'm like, it means I love life. And he was like, I mean, what I mean, it sounded like, unnecessary information. And I told him, no, based on kwenye nimetoka, I feel proud to say I'm a lover, sorry, of life because there was a point in my life where I genuinely didn't like life. I was just like, this, no, I think this life is meant for some people, but not people like me. And so I also introduced myself as a mental health champion. And people ask, sasa unkumaanisha nini? But they unkumaanisha tumekapitia huku nje. But we have conquered, we have survived, and here we are. Most of the time when I share my story, because I've used my social media platforms to share my bits and bits of my story. I don't just bulk share. And the few instances I've shared, people come to my DM. Kwanza watu wa campus wanakujanga wananiambia, me I didn't know tukiwa deo ulikuwa unapitia hizi mashida zote. Deo ni desta tangu sikuwa najua unapitia hizi shida zote. And I tell them, well, I was just, I was pretty good at just covering things up. And then also, let me tell you, being an extrovert, I don't want to say it's a good thing, but being an extrovert helps you cover up a lot of things that you're going through. So in Daystar, I was such a bubbly person. Like I was always all over the place. Nimevolunteer sijui kufanya nini. I was such a ball of energy, but people didn't know I was going through so much in Campo. And then campus, so let me just go back to 2015, and this is one of the most traumatic experiences that I've experienced so far. So back in campus, I lost my mom. This was in 2015, and my mom passed away when I'd only done one semester in Daystar. So I'd only done the, I think, August 2014 semester. And she passed away, and I don't think I really told people about it. Unajua pia mimi nimezoea tu kukaa ngumu, kukaa strong, kupambana na vitu in silence. So I'd lost my mom when I started campus life. And that took me by surprise. And I literally mean it took me by surprise because I think in psychology, when you're learning about loss and grief, there's something they call anticipated grief where mnaona mtu anaenda, so mnaanza kuprepare like mentally and psychologically. But for my mom, it just caught me off guard because she was like, okay, she passed away on a Sunday. But now let me just turudi nyuma kidogo. Mamangu alikuwa na homa. And with this flu, most people didn't think much of it because see, most of the time tukiwa na homa tunasema, sijui nitakunywa ile concussion ya, is it ginger, honey, asali? Oh, honey is asali. That ka concussion ya. So my mom had a flu for a very, very long time. And nikafika mahali nikaambia, mom, normally ukipata homa, there's a way it starts, then inakuwa mbaya, inakaa tu hapo, then inaanza kuisha. But then hers was just getting worse and worse. And I remember I told her, mom, there's just something about this flu of yours. Do you want to go to the hospital? Ama do you want me to get you medicine? Akaniambia, no, I'll just take my concussion. And I told her, well, that's what you've been taking. And it's not been working. Like there's been zero improvement, And she told me, I'll be fine, So I was going to town the next day. So I told her, Mom, I'm going to town. Have you changed your mind, as regards to medicine? Nikuletee dawa. Kasema, no, I'm good. I'll come out of it. Nikasema, sawa. In the same week, on a Sunday morning, I remember my aunt called me and she's like, hi, Jerry, how are you? I'm like, I'm good. And she's like, I'm trying to call your mom and she's not answering the phone. So I got a bit uncomfortable because I'm like, what do you mean she's not answering the phone? And then I'd heard her downstairs talking to my uncle, who's her brother. And so I went downstairs to tell my mom that now my aunt was calling her and I think her phone was not going through or something. So at that moment, unfortunately, this is the time Raila's son had passed away, Fidel. But I'm just going to be honest, at the time I was such a clueless girl. I don't know what was happening in the country. So as they're talking about Fidel, I thought they're talking about a mutual friend or somebody they know who, because they're talking about his passing and then they're also talking about Nairobi Hospital. So I'm thinking this is someone they know and they want to go visit him or Sidri. I just figured it's a mutual friend that, they're talking to. And so later they left. And I didn't know where they were going. So later that evening, my mom comes back. Amebeba bag ya brown imejaa madawa. And so the first thing I said was, si nilikwambia hii homa si ya kawaida. Ungeenda tu hosi. But anyway, I was glad she got medication. So that evening, when I tell you things went from 0 to 200 to 3,000 to 1 million real quick, hey, I don't know. So that evening, and this is something, I've seen people also talk about this on social media. When someone is about to pass away or when someone is about to die, they usually have this glow. They look okay, like ni kama wamepona completely, and then out of nowhere they just disappear. I'm sure there's a name for it. I've seen it on social media. So anyway, that evening, my mom seemed fairly energetic. I remember she even, I don't know if she made dinner, but we had chai. We sat down. Now it was me, her, her brothers. Are they two? Yeah, two of them. Tunapiga mastori. I can tell she's a bit vibrant, and I'm like, eish, alienda hosi, mambo yakabadilika, fantastic. And then later my uncles left after watching the 7 p.m. bulletin. And then I went back to my room. And then when I'm upstairs, I hear my mom coughing downstairs. And at first I didn't think much of it because I figured ni venye mtu kunywa maji inaenda the wrong hole, then you start coughing. Then she came upstairs, still coughing. She went into her room, coughed some more, and then she went back downstairs. So at this point, I'm a bit alarmed because I'm like, no, this cough is just, this is not normal. And so I went downstairs to check up on her to see what's going on. And there are things you see in the movies, and when you see them in real life, I don't know, it's just hard to process. So I went to check her downstairs, and I find her in the bathroom. We had a downstairs bathroom, Yawageni. And she's holding on to the sink imejaa damu, like it's flooded of blood. And you know how they say blood is literally thicker than water, so it's taken forever to go down the drain. I have never seen that much blood in real life, not even from an accident. And that instantly just put me in a state of so much shock. And I'm like, I need to do something, but I can't move. Like my body was just, I don't know, ilikuwa ina process everything. And I remember she was trying to communicate to me, and I don't know what she was trying to say, but I think she was trying to say, like ask for help. She was holding her phone, which made me think that when she went upstairs and realized things are not kawaida, she came downstairs to make a call, but now she couldn't. So I instantly call my uncle and I'm like, hey, you need to like do a U-turn and return and just come help me rush my mom to hospital, because I didn't think I could drive in that state. And he's like, Gwen, what's happening? And then now he could hear her coughing in the background. And he's like, is that her here? And I'm like, yes. And she's not just coughing, she's coughing out blood. Blood was oozing out of her mouth. Sidri. And eventually, because I figured he's far, I went to my neighbors, knocked on the gate, asked them to help me rush my mom to hospital. And we went to hospital. And the moment I knew that my mom is actually going was when they were trying to resuscitate her. Then they're looking for veins. Now, my mom didn't like needles at all. Honestly, she couldn't even stand there when you're getting a piercing. So when there's one doctor pricking her legs and the other one mkono, this woman should be screaming for her life. But she was not making any, hakuwa anapiga kelele. And it's at that moment where I started telling myself, oh, it's happening. But a part of me was like, maybe God cannot be that ruthless to just, just snatch her. So I went out to get some air, then I went back in. I remember at first it was one doctor attending to her, and eventually he sent for another doctor. And nikajua sasa hapa kimomana. So now when they're both working on her, wakimdunga, and she's not screaming, I was like, whew, this is happening and I'm not ready. Not today. So anyway, eventually, my uncle came because I told him the hospital we were in, and he went in. I just came out for some air because I felt like that was a bit too much. And I remember the neighbor who had helped me rush her to hospital told me, she just called me outside and she told me, Jerry, if you ever need to talk to somebody, if you ever need anything, just I'm just next door. And that just iyo liyaribu maneno. And I knew Aki, it's happening and I don't want to accept it. So anyway, my uncle goes in, and I'm just outside napunga hewa because I'm like, I don't think this night can be processed today. And when I went outside, I remember I made a very weird prayer to God and I told God, I'm not ready for my mom to pass away today. I'm not ready for her to leave me today. Just put her in a coma as I process the whole thing. Lakini si mnajua God na mipango zake. So my uncle was in. So he came out just to check up on me. And I remember I asked him, how is she? Because a part of me just believed she can be stabilized. And I remember my uncle is a very strong man. He doesn't show emotion like most men. And I remember he just did this under his glasses and he told me, Jerry, I don't know what to tell you. And that he told me enough. And let me tell you, my heart was crushed. So, in a long story short, we went to the doctor's office and he told us, you know how doctors say we did the best that we could, but you did well to rush her to the hospital, but it was a bit too late. And I was like, okay. And let me tell you, the whole week I was numb. In fact, if you came to visit me at the time, sikuwa nakaa kama ambaye nimefiwa. I was very like composed, okay, niko tu. And I guess it's because I was so numb and I was like, there's no way this has just happened. There's no way God just took my mom. Yani, hata anipati warm up. But anyway, that's one of the most dramatic things that has happened to me. And one of the most painful things about her passing is obviously her not being there. But I think for me, it's the fact that she went with so many answers because I had a very unpleasant childhood. She didn't raise me. I was raised by my shosho. And then now she came in the picture later. And I grew up feeling like such a neglected child. I felt like I was like an oops baby. I felt like sikuwa nimepigiwa mahesabu. And so I always felt like I was struggling to, how should I put this? I always felt like I'm forcing issues with my mom. And I always felt like I'm forcing her to be my mom or I'm forcing myself to be her daughter. And I'm sure in the course of this episode, or rather, sorry, in the course of this podcast, I will be just dropping snippets. But I grew up feeling so bad. I grew up feeling so wounded. Actually, at some point, and this is one of the many questions I needed answers for. At some point, she was dating this gentleman, and given that my paps has not been in the picture, so I saw this man as a male figure, and I could see that maybe they're serious. And I was so happy to know that I'm finally gonna have like not like a dad, but like like a dad figure, right? Until this man crossed the line, and I don't know. I was very young at the time. I think I was freshly into high school. And this man he just crossed the line. I don't want to get into the details of it, tusianze kulia hapa. But he crossed the line. And I remember I told my mom one time, your boyfriend, yeah, he's doing 1, 2, 3 things. And I remember she just shrugged it off and she was like, but you're the one who's always hanging out with him. I'm sorry? I'm the one who's always hanging out with him. Please keep in mind, I'm never in the company of this man if my mom is not there. And most of the time we'd hang out, it's probably in the house because he's come over, yeah? So when I told my mom, this man is touching me inappropriately, and she said, women don't hang out na yeye. I'm like, what? Now, as you can imagine, because, she didn't believe me, right? So this man just kept escalating. Things just kept escalating and escalating. And it got to a point where, I remember this one incident where he would deliberately piss off my mom, like, anamkasirisha, anamfikisha mpaka huku. And I remember this one evening, my mom lost it. And she slammed a glass on the wall. And then he said, sasa unaona umekasirika. I don't even think it's safe for your daughter to sleep in this house. Let me go with her to my house. Nitamleta kesho asubuhi. I don't need to tell you what happened. Let me tell you, there are very many nights I went to that house. And the first night I went to his house, it was a very big house. I asked him, because if I'm not wrong, it was a 3-bedroom. Obviously, the master is his bedroom. So I asked him, of these 2 bedrooms, which one is mine? And man's told me, we're going to sleep together. What do you mean, which one is your room? We'll share a bed. And again, I guess in the course of this podcast, I'll just be unleashing some of the things that happened. But let me tell you, that man left me scarred because I'd not even turned 18. Had I? I don't think so, because I was freshly into high school. And then I've told my mom about what he's doing, and she was a bit dismissive. And now he just kept taking things to the next level. I remember at some point, I mean, of course, I would resist it. And I remember this one time he was unzipping my dress, and I was like this doesn't feel right. And I'm like, no, let's not do this. This is not good. And he had the audacity to tell me, if you allow me to touch you, I will marry you. Siji, because I love you so much, and a bunch of nonsense. And whether I said yes or no, either way, this man was determined to do the thing. And he did the thing. And I think by the time my mom was actually catching on the wave of, yeah, but then she might actually be telling the truth, it was too late. Well, they broke up, akamfukuza, akatupa vitu zake nje. But it was too late. I was scarred, I was bruised, I was traumatized. And I think that also built a different perspective for me, like towards men. Si ati nachukia wanaume, but I just went through a phase where no, this gender needs the hand of God. But anyway, those are some of the things that I needed answers for. Like when I told you did it have to go to those lengths for you to actually believe that it was happening? Also, as a child, man, I kept calling my mom and I'm crying. I'm telling her, get me out of this place, because she left me in the hands of my grandmother. And my grandmother is those typically strict parents. And I remember, I don't have siblings, but I always feel like I'm the older sister because I'm the eldest cousin. And I remember I used to get in trouble even for mistakes that were not mine. And the one, unajua kuna ile siku unaamka unapiga kazi safi, yani you're like, I can't wait for her to see what I've done today. And every time I did something nice, it was like, well, that's what you expected to do. Konataka tukupigia makofi. But then the one time I do something wrong or I fail to do something, oh, child, I will not hear the end of it. So basically, there's just a lot of things and a lot of build-up from things that I experienced from my childhood to my teenagehood, now to my adulthood. And to be honest, people ask me, have you gone for therapy? And I say, well, Jesus, no therapy. But anyway, at the end of the day, I know I need to go for therapy. But what scares me the most about therapy is the fact that counselors have a way of digging into those two things that you've like suppressed. They're like, so tell me about your childhood. And there's a cartoon they ask with you, like, oh dear, here we go. But anyway, I feel like therapy is one of those things that I'm scared to do. Because I do not know. Because I feel like I've been strong, all through and like, yeah, watangu niko sawa, nime heal. I mean, of course, I have healed. Looking at myself right now and back like five years ago, I can honestly and confidently say that I have healed. I just know it's not like 100%. There are things that even like if I sit here and try to remember, I may not remember, but I'll probably smell a perfume and it triggers a memory that was so traumatic for me. And now I start getting emotional. I start hyperventilating and people are thinking I'm being petty. And I'm like, just let me be, okay? So yeah, I know therapy is one of those things that I can't run away from for too long. And like overall, I think I'm proud of myself. And I guess now this is why people ask me, how is it that you've gone through all these things, but you still smile like nothing happened? And for me, what keeps me going is the fact that ili happens, antadu. Yes, ili happened. So mbuda alinichukua akanipeleka kwa nyumba yake, akafanya vitu alifanya, sasa ntadu. Zilisha happen. So it's just getting to a point where you just accept that it is what it is. And no amount of time spent thinking about your past will change it. That's the thing that I think nilifika to a place in corner because I was feeling like I'm carrying so much weight on my shoulders every day. I'm waking up stressing about, oh, my mom didn't do this for me, my mom this. And I always say, I don't like to camp in that woye mentality. Ati woye mamangu elini neglect, woye chali yake elinifanyia hivi, woye. I feel like I don't have it in me to just woye. And I guess the other toxic trait I have is me, I just like to be strong through the storms. Like natakanga tu kwenda ngumu ngumu, which it's a good thing, yeah, because it helps you just, maneuver. But it also means that you're just suppressing things. You're just pushing things backwards. You're not dealing with them. So I have not dealt with my demons like 100% or my traumas, but I know there's like 70% healing done in that place. And I guess this is one of the things that really inspired me to start this podcast, which I'm calling A Woman's Journal. Yes, we're journaling in person. Najua mko na kadari mahali mnaandika vitu zenu, but also just giving a platform to women. And I know someone will ask why women. I'll shed more light on that. Just for us to come on here and like verbally journal. Let's talk about the things we have gone through. Let's talk about the traumas. Let's talk about how to bounce from them. Let's talk about the challenges we experience, how to maneuver around them. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's basically us verbally journaling here on my podcast, and I'd love to have you. And why women? I feel like honestly speaking, I don't think I would like relate with things men go through. It's like me coming here and saying I'm gonna have a men's podcast. Like, do I even know the first thing about men? No. So it's just I wanted to like talk to my people, just a people who I relate to, a people who mwanamke akikuja hapa aseme kitu niko yeah, that I relate 100%. So it's basically wanting to make it more relatable, and then it's familiar grounds basically. Siwezi kuja hapa kuongelea wanyama. Me, I'm not very much into wildlife, but yes, the reason why I chose women is because it's I don't want to say it's easy peasy, but ni kitu relate nayo virahisi, and then it's something that is closer to my heart, yeah? Because wacha nikwambia, ladies are going through it out here, from teenage pregnancies to people going through miscarriages, from suffering in marriages, having to tolerate toxic partners. I mean, women, we are going through a lot also in relationships, finding ourselves in toxic relationships and feeling like we're not enough, and we feel like if I leave this relationship I'll never find somebody to love me enough. But that comes from now I'm starting to sound like a psychologist, but all this to think is they build up from unresolved trauma. And this is something someone told me in a very harsh way. Akiniambia utu insecurities mnakwanga nato kwa relationships. Ati mtu anakudharau kwa relationship na hawezi toka. It's because you have some unresolved trauma from back there. Either it's let me say a kadadi issue, there's just something that you've not resolved, because the goal at the end of the day, for us, not just women, but generally, is for us to get to a point where, one, we make peace with the past, not to say it is what it is, we move. And then we get to a healing journey where we just let go of all that weight on our shoulders. And then now, tuko free hata sasa ku bring people into the picture. So I feel like it's inevitable. We gotta deal with our past. We have to deal with those traumas, yeah? So that is what inspired me to start A Woman's Journal with Susan Grace. Yes, where we just come on here, talk. They're going to be authentic conversations. Let's just come and be as raw as possible. Staki to sugarcoat vitu. Kama una struggle na kitu, una struggle nayo. We also talk about things like intimacy. We talk about relationships. Kwanza, I don't want to preempt the topics we're going to talk about, but yeah, we just want to talk about anything that touches on the life of a woman. And of course, it will be hosted by yours truly, Susan Grace, which I'll be posting on all my social media platforms. That is at Susan Grace _K Instagram, Susan Grace on Facebook, Susan Grace on YouTube, Susan Grace as well on LinkedIn, if that matters. But yeah, let's just come here, connect. And I also believe that when you talk, they say when you talk about a problem, it's like halfway solved. Yeah, sometimes there's some relief that comes with talking, some relief that comes with hata ukilia ama nini. There's just that relief of kuitoa, because I don't want you to hold on to things just by yourself. And I'm talking from experience, because mimi nilistruggle na hiyo syndrome ya kunyamazia vitu, because I always felt like, one, sai kusumbua watu na mashida zangu. I'm like, everybody's going through their own shenanigans. Why should I add mine to that list? And I always felt like I have to be strong throughout. And let me tell you, you don't have to be strong. Okay? If you're struggling, you're struggling. Let's talk about it. If you're going through a hard time, you're going through a hard time. Let's talk about it. Let's not ignore it. Let's not take a nap to just suppress it. We gotta get to a point where we deal with these traumas. Kwanza ma millennials, man, my heart goes out to the millennials, kwa sababu we are suffering, and we have suffered. And I also believe for some of us, God has put us in these spaces to kill some of these generational patterns, generational curses, these things that have been branded at familia yenyu hakuna mtu olewa so utaolewa. I do believe that some of us are in these spaces to kill some of these generational curses and patterns, because we are entertaining them too much. We're entertaining these thoughts of, because it happened to my auntie, to my shosho, to my mom, it's also gonna happen to me. Nah, we're changing those narratives, and also trying to understand women from different perspectives of, for example, women who choose to remain childless. We just want to understand things from their perspective. I feel like we live in a society that is quite entitled, and they feel like as a woman you must do all things. I feel like gone are the times where we were dictated to, do things. Mwanamke lazima azae, lazima akae nyumbani, lazima afanye nini. We are raising a generation that's more vocal, and they're standing on business. They're like cheeky. Watoi ni wasupu, but me, I don't want to have kids. So we also want to have such women on this podcast and understand why that choice. Is it by choice? Is it because of what you've seen someone else go through in their motherhood journey? Those are the questions we want to answer here, and I want to encourage you, who's a woman out there who feels comfortable to share their story. Me, I'm here for you. Come to Big Story to heal. We pray, we sing it out, we cry it out, whatever we have to do. Me, I'm just trying to give you free therapy on this podcast. But anyway, that's it for me. I do look forward to seeing you in the next episode of A Woman's Journal.